Have you ever considered how the sweet crystals in your morning cup of tea or coffee have shaped the course of human history? The story of sugar is a global tale of exploration, exploitation, and the thirst for wealth. Our narrative begins in the 15th century when the Portuguese, driven by their quest for new lands and riches, colonized the Madeira Islands. The fertile volcanic soil and the favorable year-round climate made these islands the ideal location for large-scale sugarcane cultivation. The Portuguese crown gifted these lands to noble settlers who cleared the landscape to grow wheat, and eventually, from the 1440s, sugarcane. Financial backing from Genoese bankers and technical expertise from Sicilian advisors facilitated this ambitious venture. The sugarcane varieties were brought in from Sicily, turning Madeira into a bustling hub of sugar production. By the mid-16th century, the sweet success of Madeira's sugar was renowned worldwide, with exports reaching as far as Portugal, Flanders, Italy, England, France, Greece, and Constantinople. Yet this sweet tale has a bitter side. The labor-intensive nature of sugar cultivation necessitated a large workforce. This need was met by importing slaves from West Africa.
South America's history bears witness to the establishment of European colonies, particularly those centered around sugar plantations. These colonies, born during the Age of Exploration, were driven by the ambition of European powers such as Spain, Portugal, France, and the Netherlands to amass wealth and exert dominance over the New World. However, the prosperity of these colonies came at a steep cost, as indigenous peoples and later African slaves were subjected to exploitation and mistreatment, igniting a series of revolts and uprisings that would profoundly shape the region's history. The colonial enterprise in South America relied heavily on coerced labor, with indigenous populations forced into servitude and later supplanted by the importation of African slaves to meet the labor demands of the burgeoning sugar industry. Amidst the brutal conditions of the plantations, discontent simmered, eventually boiling over into open rebellion. One of the most notable revolts was the Tupac Amaru II rebellion, which unfolded in Peru from 1780 to 1783. Led by indigenous leader José Gabriel Condorcanqui, who assumed the title Tupac Amaru II, the rebellion was a response to the oppressive Spanish colonial rule and the exploitation suffered by indigenous communities. Though initially successful and garnering widespread support across various social strata, the rebellion was ultimately quashed by Spanish forces, with Tupac Amaru II meeting a grim fate at the hands of his captors. Nevertheless, the rebellion left an indelible mark on the collective memory, symbolizing the enduring struggle against colonial oppression. Similarly, in Brazil, the Quilombo dos Palmares emerged as a bastion of resistance against Portuguese colonial domination during the 17th century. Founded by escaped slaves, the Quilombo represented a beacon of hope for those fleeing the horrors of slavery, establishing a society founded on principles of freedom and autonomy. Despite enduring relentless assaults by Portuguese forces, Palmares stood as a testament to the resilience of the oppressed. Though ultimately vanquished, its legacy continued to inspire future generations in the fight against slavery and injustice. The resolutions of these revolts reverberated throughout South America, fueling movements for independence from colonial powers. The struggles for liberation, driven by the desire to end exploitation and establish just societies, culminated in the emergence of sovereign nations across the continent. Moreover, the resistance of slaves in revolts like the Quilombo dos Palmares contributed to the eventual abolition of slavery in South America, marking a significant milestone in the quest for social justice and equality. Today, the legacy of these revolts and resolutions endures, serving as a poignant reminder of the resilience and determination of those who resisted colonial oppression. They stand as testament to the ongoing struggle for a more equitable and just society in South America.
The plantation model established in Madeira was replicated and refined in other Portuguese colonies, including the Azores, the Cape Verde Islands, and São Tomé and Príncipe. São Tomé and Príncipe in particular became the first European colonies to develop large-scale sugar plantations, employing a significant number of African slaves. This plantation system, which focused on single crops shipped long distances for profit, revolutionized agriculture. However, it was the enslaved Africans who bore the brunt of this progress. Until the abolition of the transatlantic slave trade in 1807, more than 12 million Africans were transported to the New World, with over 90% forced to work on sugar plantations in the Caribbean and South America. The legacy of these sugar plantations continues to shape the history and culture of these regions. The story of sugar, therefore, is not just a story of sweetness, but a testament to human resilience and the will to survive against all odds. It's a tale that reminds us of the bitter truth that progress often comes at a heavy price. To summarize, the history of sugar plantations is a tale of exploration, exploitation, and resilience. It began with the Portuguese colonization of Madeira in the 15th century and was driven by the global demand for sugar. The need for labor led to the importation of slaves from Africa, marking a dark period in human history. Despite the abolition of the transatlantic slave trade in the 19th century, the legacy of these plantations continues to impact the regions where they were established.